He was always bashing gold. He hated gold. And in the meantime, he built huge positions in banks. He's a guy who lost money on the airlines twice. He will soon be moving into Bitcoin, or whoever takes his place, because remember, he's 90 years old now. So whoever takes Warren's place over there at Berkshire Hathaway will be moving into gold.
A few days ago, Warren Buffett's conglomerate Berkshire Hathaway reduced its positions in major banks and bought shares in Barrick Gold, among the largest gold mining companies. You said that Buffett's move is likely to bring Bitcoin to 50K. Can you explain the rationale behind your statement?
Right. Well, I've been following Warren Buffett's career since I started on Wall Street back in the early 1980s. So I know his methodology and his career pretty well. He was always bashing gold. He hated gold. And in the meantime, he built huge positions in banks. He's a guy who lost money on the airlines twice, not just recently with American Airlines and Delta and others, but going back 20 years, he made a huge bet on U.S. Air, and it was a catastrophe for him. He is somebody who's underperformed the S&P, the index, for 15 years. He's sitting on hundreds of billions of dollars worth of cash, and he's ending his career as a bit of a failure. So to try to salvage what he can of Berkshire and his career, he finally did a mea culpa and said, you know what, I was wrong about gold. I need to own some gold. I need exposure to gold. So he's moving into Barrick Gold, and this will be the beginning of a huge transition out of financials, which he dumped recently, into gold. And then, therefore, he will soon be moving into Bitcoin, or whoever takes his place, because remember, he's 90 years old now. So whoever takes Warren's place over there at Berkshire Hathaway will be moving into gold. They've been about 10, 15 years behind the curve. They were very late to get into Apple. They were very late to get into Amazon. They hated tech during the entire tech boom of the last 20 years. So they're about 10 years behind the times. So I figured that once he gets a gold position, he'll move into Bitcoin. He's going to mimic what Paul Tudor Jones, who is 10 times smarter and 100 times smarter than anybody else on Wall Street, recently said that Bitcoin is the fastest horse in the race, and comparing it to gold. He loves Bitcoin over gold. He's got a position in Bitcoin. So all these major money managers, old legacy money managers, are starting to move into Bitcoin as an extension of their move into gold, as a way to get out of the dumpster fire that is the US dollar.
Right. So I hear you, but at the same time, I have to point out that Warren Buffett bought gold and not Bitcoin. So what's your rationale is that's
because gold and Bitcoin are synonymous. They're the same thing. One is digital gold and one is the yellow metal gold that you dig out of the ground. They're both gold, right? And so now we have a major player who is moving away from the one. For 50 years, he's been bashing gold. Now he's into gold. So now because of inflation, because of fiat money, because we understand now that the dollar is going the way of the Venezuelan bolivar. So now you have to protect your assets. And so gold and Bitcoin are the go-to assets for preservation, for protection. So Buffett is signaling to the market that he quit the pretending that he knows what he's doing when it comes to financials and managing money. He's given up. He quit. He essentially walked off the playing field. He sold all of his airlines at a huge loss, and he's retiring. He's toast. He's done. He's ended his career on a horrible note.
That leads to my following question, because you are making quite precise, quite detailed, I would say, predictions for the price of Bitcoin. Most of the people we interview are usually more cautious. They tend to be very, generic in terms of price prediction. While you, back in July, said that Bitcoin was going to reach the 28K benchmark before correcting and then hitting six figures. So how can you make this kind of detailed price predictions?
Well, my first prediction was in 2011 when I said I'm looking for Bitcoin to go to 100,000. So that was that prediction is still in place from 2011. Okay, almost 10 years ago. So that's my long-standing prediction. I recently increased that to 400,000. because I now am completely confident that Bitcoin will compete with gold. So that's the macro trend. That's the multi-decade trend that we're talking about. Now, within that series of predictions, or within that series of price targets, you've got medium and short-term price targets. On the short term, obviously the run to 20,000 is key, because that would make new all-time highs. And so once it gets through 20,000, from being a long-term Wall Streeter trader myself, I've been basically in stocks, markets, and finance for over 35 years. Once you see an asset like this break through the old high and make a new high, you should see a surge into an extension of, in my view, I think we'll see 28,000 on that run before we see any meaningful pullback. That's the way I see. That's the way I read this market.
Got it. So switching a bit topic, you commented about the latest drop of Chainlink, which is like one of the most successful DeFi tokens lately. You said that altcoins only exist to steal your Bitcoin. What do you exactly mean by that?
The track record is clear that altcoins are basically designed to steal people's Bitcoin. So you can't really argue against that point. There's only been theft of Bitcoin. That's the only reason altcoins have really existed. DeFi is just the flavor of the month. Remember a couple of years ago it was ICOs, and before that, there's always the invention of new things coming down the pike, but for people to stay focused on Bitcoin is a primary thing that must be emphasized. And you've got a lot of activity in these various altcoin markets that can really be destructive to somebody's portfolio. With Link, of course, they had the Winklevoss twins on with Dave Portnoy, and they talked about it. The price jumped up. People kind of got FOMO'd in, and now it's dropped 20%, right? So people should not be wasting their time trying to day trade the altcoin market. Just buy Bitcoin and hold it. That's the one thing you can do for yourself. Don't try to time the Bitcoin market, the altcoin market with all these different coins. And because we know from the last 8-9 years that there's a very it's very destructive to people's portfolios. There's just so much has been lost trading these altcoins. And for the I would say 99.9% of people who buy Bitcoin, just to understand Bitcoin is a huge task that will take up a tremendous amount of their time, that they should just focus on that. Don't try to dig into the minutia of every coin that comes down the pike. So I stand by my statement. So far, every coin that's come along has been good at stealing people's Bitcoin. That's pretty much been the only use case so far, including Ethereum. Ethereum gets a lot of hype, but it's as the recent scandal about the accountability of Ethereum points out, the people of Ethereum don't even know how many Ethereum there are, right? It's still in beta. Shouldn't even be trading. The fact that they were even allowed to get out there without a lot closer scrutiny from regulators is a miracle. And it's just not really worthy to be considered in the same category as Bitcoin.